I know that making this video during Halloween Mania may be unexpected since I wanted this to be a marathon of Halloween videos, but this has just come up really recently, not because of the videos centering around Zaid Magenta, but as it turns out, his name is up there and there were no filters. Zaid Magenta's channel is gone. He deleted his channel, and to tell you the truth, what he said in his video really made me understand that he really needs to leave the internet because as far as I'm concerned, when you have people in your Discord server turning against you of the bad things that you did, that is a sign where Zaid Magenta's career on YouTube is officially over. Let me just say this right now that the video which was deleted, Getting My Act Together, I really missed the whole point of his manipulation because as far as I'm concerned, the manipulation that I understood was him manipulating Cartoonchi, and with everyone in his old Discord server, which he's no longer in, which is the Senate, everyone is completely calling him out and who used to defend him and completely help him out with his struggles, in the fact that he's in the position where he can't be able to get out and the manipulation is beyond helpful anymore. He's gone. I'm honestly shocked to think that Zaid Magenta would delete his channel. Like, I understand that when it comes to child predators, they had to hide their tracks in order to make sure that they don't get caught red-handed, but when they get caught red-handed, it's too late. And even though that Zaid Magenta isn't a predator, it doesn't change the fact that he still sends death threats. Like, in my last video centering around him, I didn't think that he was sending death threats. Like, I just didn't think that he would send type of death threats, but after looking into it a lot more, he really did. I've got this information right after I put my comment in the recent video centering around him, and then when I check through the video again for more comments, I see one of my, not really one of my subs, but one of the people stated that Zaid Magenta's channel is finally deleted. Wow. I just cannot believe that Zaid Magenta is gone, but to tell you the truth, it was totally worth it. As far as I'm concerned, the video of Zaid Magenta needs to stop. I watched it multiple times, and to tell you the truth, the thing is, the Senate, even if I have no plans on contacting with him, nor being part of the Discord group, I always thought that they were in on Zaid Magenta giving death threats to other people. I mean, them doing mean things when it comes to doing mean comments and whatnot is, for me personally, the same thing when it comes to sending death threats. Granted, there's a huge separation, obviously, but it really feels like that they're treating death threats as normal things when it comes to saying them to normal Twitter users or normal users who aren't anything like actual terrible people, like child predators or people doing terrible things with their animals. But since I've seen the whole truth, it gave me a different viewpoint, even if I do not like them completely, but a different viewpoint on the people in the Senate. Like Leo Convoy, I only know him mainly from MisAnthro and mainly when it came to the Rose situation. But even though it may be a huge confusing understanding of the person, and even if I'm not into him cutting ties with Zaid Magenta and banning him from the Senate just goes to show that he actually knows how to set things straight in comparison to Zaid Magenta, who did the opposite. Let me just be perfectly real with you that the reason why I keep going back to Zaid Magenta's channel, even if I do not comment or anything, is just to see the update. And with the update, his final community post is that last video that he uploaded was a huge mistake. And With him having nothing to hide, he has no other option but to delete his channel. Like, when Cartoonchi uploaded his video of him earlier 2022, I honestly thought that it would have been the opportunity where Zaid Magenta actually changes for the better. But apparently, since that these amount of people didn't give him the understanding of that, I guess him getting kicked out of the Senate and deleting his channel was the only way for him to finally lose. Because for me personally, he was way too unstoppable. Like, it's amazing to think that the people like David 315842 come out and completely address on the fact that Zaid Magenta has officially lost, and seeing his own friends against him. To tell you the truth, him being the father of Minthart back in 2018 doesn't automatically mean that he's immune of being a toxic person. I mean, just because you're a protector of someone from sexual assault or sexual abuse, you still need to prove more than just being a parent to Minthart. And considering that Leo Convoy is a better parent in comparison to Zaid Magenta, it really shows that Zaid Magenta is incapable of being anything better other than just tackling child predators or just doing doing awareness involving child predators. Like, I understand what I said in my last Zaid Magenta video, that me not caring about children, but not in the way of what you would think may be unnecessary. But the thing is, I'm not into Zaid Magenta's content like that. Like his cuties videos, it makes sense. Not really his videos, but his one video centering around cuties made sense. But when it comes to him just shoehorning in and just assume that some of his people, mainly from his hate myself included, would side with the person causing the problems involving child predators going after victims, no. Because as far as I'm concerned, it just gives it a really difficult understanding of how we're supposed to take the child predators seriously when we're only focusing on the problems involving Zaid Magenta. Because when I stated that he's using everything as a shield, guess what? His former Discord friends knew that most of the tactics that he did is mainly a shield. Like, believe me, there was a comment in this video, well, Zaid doesn't do anything whatsoever, and when it comes to Leo, not only that he impersonates his word choice when it comes to him stalking Cartoonchi, but when he told Rosa that it creates people like you when it comes to Star Wars, he does the same thing. And not only that, when it comes to the cause of Rosa, he doesn't do anything while the other people just do it for him. Yeah, he just doesn't do anything, and he doesn't defend himself, and he just used manipulation. Like, it may be a shame that it took me this long to understand that he manipulates every single person, but as far as I'm concerned, I guess it's literally his friends or his ex-friends that made me convinced that he is way more manipulative than I thought. Let's go talk about the Cartoonchi incident, because as far as I'm concerned, about a week ago, Cartoonchi has been harassed by a Loud House fan because of his video of the Cross-Gigantes, which is a spin-off of the Loud House. And as much as I understand that he doesn't deserve what he got from him, there was only one element that I blame Cartoonchi with, and that's mainly the fact that he pokes fun towards the Loud House. I mean, I understand that the Loud House isn't a real person, and I understand it's a show at some sorts, but the thing is, if you really think about it, he should have at least just stopped with the Loud House slander, but it won't change the fact, considering that the live action Loud House the really haunted Loud House movie is out and he's gonna plan on slandering it like before. It just gave me the impression that the content centering around his viewpoint towards the Loud House, even if it may be honest, the harshness needs to die, because the person that stalked him is fictional media bully, which I've watched some of his videos and they're really not good. And to tell you the truth, his comment towards him and basically what happens later on are really, really, really unnecessary, to the point that it just really makes me convinced that he's only doing this for the sake of attention. And with him being the point of his username, just gave me the impression that he is mainly as bad as MisAnthro, except without the death threats. But we don't even know if he's going to send death threats towards people, because as far as I'm concerned, when it came to the MisAnthro incident, it just gave me the impression of what Cartooni is feeling is literally the same thing as we're dealing with the media is fictional media bully. The only difference is that Zaid Magenta didn't attack Cartooni because of the decision of blocking him from his Discord server. Like, the reason why he kicked him out is because of his attitude towards people, and the fact that was 2 years ago when it came to his opinions towards Star Wars. It really shows that Cartooni really needs to improve, and this leads to me why I don't usually side with Cartooni completely, but still in comparison to fictional media bully, because the post that he originally put on, which he deleted, he said it got notified of some Loud House YouTuber crying about my Constant Context review, and out of curiosity decided to check out a few of their videos. Results were predictable and showed me that I should not hold back on the jokes when talking about the fans of this series. And look what he did recently, which he doesn't have the original post. Just made a post here recently that I shouldn't have called someone out for some stuff. I'm sorry to anyone who saw it or was involved, as I had a very stressful day and didn't think through. And didn't think things through. Won't happen again. Sorry. What Cartooni did was mainly him just going the back, is doing what MisAnthro would usually do. And to tell you the truth, with him being 19 years old and while an adult, no longer a minor, he really needs to tone down on the hate towards the Loud House, because in my perspective, it's similar to Zaid Magenta's hate towards the Star Wars series, because in the painful decline of the Loud House, which was the videos that he made in 2021, which is before he changed, he posted this, and he usually posted those in other of his older videos, mainly the Outhouse, the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I don't remember the other things, but mainly those for examples. And he puts this, he completely puts this in because it's a 2022 important update. The following video is a product of when I was 16 years old and made a bunch of offensive jokes for shock humor. I do not recommend you watch this video, as it does not represent my honest thoughts on the show and has never ever represented me as a person. If you have ever felt offended by the content of my old videos, that is 100% valid, and I humbly apologize. Let me just say this right now. If he didn't place that in there, unlike the Outhouse and Star Wars, then maybe I would understand that his point of view of the Loud House didn't change. Like, the only good video that I liked from him was his Willy Loud House video, where he only tackled 3 episodes. And as much as I understand that I can't change his perspective on the Loud House, keep in mind, when he made a video like this do bad fandoms, ruins cartoons, he still does the same thing. And even though that the Casagrande isn't the best cartoon in the world, I don't say that it's a failed cartoon. Like, the statements that he said involving ratings, it's a huge difference when you completely realize that TV ratings just don't matter nowadays. And I think that the attention that the Casagrandes got when it comes to having 3 seasons rather than just 2 is mainly of the fact that not because it's a cash cow of Nickelodeon, but in comparison to the recent seasons of The Loud House, it's slightly doing better. And the thing is, when it came to Zaid, I highly doubt that he'll do anything to what Cartoonchi did by trying to set a better example. Because, let me just say this right now, that Zaid just can't be able to listen to reason, and he literally uses everyone, especially Leo, to protect himself or shield himself from criticism, which just goes to show that him deleting his channel is honestly the best thing that he ever did, and he gave his haters a huge favor. Granted, when it comes to Rosa and Robert, they don't deserve it, but as far as I'm concerned, like I stated, I didn't even talk to him. Like, I did talk to him when I was a subscriber to him, but I never talk to him or never receive a message from him. Like, the closest I got a message from him is that he wants me to take down my video that he showcases the photo of his harassers, which myself, which I am included, and judging of how that he wants me to be in a call with the Senate just goes to show that he is literally doing everything to avoid criticisms, and the only way for him to actually come out is mainly deleting his YouTube channel and never coming back. Let me be real with you. I know the Cartoonchi bit that I added in this video may be unnecessary, but it's somewhat important because I actually wanted to talk about the incident centering around Cartoonchi and fictional media bully. And as far as I'm concerned, I doubt that Cartoonchi will ever watch this video, since that he wants no part of Zaid Magenta whatsoever. But you don't have to change my opinion because of my point of view of the show. And my point of view of the show, especially from the Loud House, may be different from yours, but at the same time, you don't need to instantly do these types of stuff for the sake of making the people in the Loud House fandom worse. Like, I get it. The fandoms of any other show is problematic, but the way I see it, whenever I see negativity centering around a fandom and they just don't bother going away and just completely ignoring the bad things, and I'm not talking about the Predators or any of that, mainly the fictional stuff like fan art and fanfiction and whatnot when it comes to in the fandom, that would make things a lot more simpler. Because as far as I'm concerned, whenever I see this, when it comes to Toxicity, which this video came out recently, and it's nothing more than just being dramatic and whatnot, then believe me, then I'm not taking fandom seriously. Because I don't usually hammer it in on the fact that fandoms, while ruining your experience, doesn't automatically mean that I'm new to this thing. Because I've been through these scenarios before, and when it comes to ignoring the bad aspects, it's literally the only way to make the fandom good in your own way. Granted, I understand people may not agree with me on my opinion, especially Cartoonchi, since I can't change every single opinion, but the thing is, when you completely have people like MisAnthro or Zaid Magenta just completely not ignoring everything, and he's being woke and doing culture wars, those are reasons onto why doing culture wars and woking has become a really exhausting feeling, and doing so much dramatic attention towards how bad fandoms are when it comes to NS not safe for work content is really getting a lot more overrated. Like, you can ignore it, no, I'm not forcing you, but at the same time, I don't even find that near as bad as comparing to real people in real life. Because as far as I'm concerned, when I see people just calling out people doing bad things when it comes to MisAnthro or Zaid Magenta's take on Dog Walker, Nostalgia Kick, or Channel Awesome, and he turns out to lose at the end, and the fact that there was a lot more information about involving the change the channel thing that happened in 2018 that Dog Walker isn't mostly responsible, then listening to people really needs to become a priority rather than just coming to conclusions. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's getting really old. Like, the negative aspects of people doing NSFL artwork or fanfics may be debatable, but at the same time, if they're keeping it fiction and not taking it out on real people, then there's no problem with it. Like, you can't stand it, but at the same time, I'm not forcing you to watch that, and it's mainly your own decision if you're into that type of stuff, as long as you have limitations. Cartoonshi is trying to have limitations from his community posts, from what I'm seeing. But when it comes to everyone else, like Fictional Media Bully, well, he goes over the top, and since that he's from the British area, which is pretty much the same location that Cartoonshi is in, if I'm correct, the fact that Zaid Magenta is clearly not improving whatsoever, to the point that him just completely showing that Dip Rose, who is an ex-person from the Discord server, which is the Senate, and the fact that he still gets caught red-handed, then as far as I'm concerned, he can't be able to use a shield anymore in the battle because he lost all of his shields. Like, every time his shield breaks, he finds another thing to protect himself, which is another shield. And then this leads to him deleting his YouTube channel, and as far as I'm concerned, I honestly don't want him back. Because for me personally, he has done way more damage, and the fact that he isn't a child predator really shows that there is always worse than in people rather than being child predators. Sending death threats is an example on how the people who are part of his harassers, and I'm not talking about Rosa or Robert, really shows that they're actual people who have limitations, and when it comes to the moral values that they have, even if they're not the best, they are a lot more better in comparison to Zaid Magenta. And considering that there are more people doing this type of stuff and more people getting exposed, there's a reason onto why I don't contact with these people, even if I do want to, when it comes to people who are civilized. Because the negative attention that Zaid Magenta has caused is way too much, that his manipulation ends up becoming a lot more confusing rather than the advice. Because his videos where he just expresses what should happen and what should not happen, mainly his old Star Wars videos from 2018, I appreciate him a lot more. And even if people may not agree with me, when you are when you are an ex-fan of his, where you used to enjoy his content and you just don't look at it the same way, mainly his Steven Universe video that he uploaded 3 years ago, which will probably be archived, you really need to form your own opinions and try to be a better example by not sending death threats to people who aren't as bad as the people like Rosa and Robert. Because as far as I'm concerned, the only problem that I have on going against the people who rightfully deserves to be called out is because Zaid used it as a shield, and he uses people like Leo and others to expose them, which is important. It doesn't change the fact that it just overshadows Zaid Magenta's problems. Like, the people of Rosa and Robert are far more worse, but let me just say this right now. It's becoming really irritating when a person like me isn't a child predator protector or a police officer. is really getting fed up with this type of stuff keep coming out, using it as a shield rather than getting to the point at hand. Because as far as I'm concerned, I would probably just ignore or get out of the situations, and whenever I'm into this, like this, when it comes to Zaid Magenta, I really try to be civilized, but no matter what, they always turn the tables and just lash out. And even if it may be how I did it, it's still no excuse on the fact that they're not listening to my side of the story and just completely have the whole thing sorted out when it comes to healing, because that's what's been happening when it comes to the Senate people protecting Zaid Magenta. And then when this is finally come out, when it comes to him expressing that he sent death threats and doing angry messages when it comes to Bono accounts, I honestly don't know what to believe. This is also one of the reasons onto why moral values, even if it may be important, it doesn't mean it works for everyone. Like, if I really did any of the bad stuff, then I would probably have a problem towards people. But if I really did those types of things, I would probably do the same thing as what Zaid did, but I didn't. But I don't. I really don't. I barely contact a lot of people, and whenever I do contact people, it's mainly questions and try to be civilized. Like, I barely message people a lot when it comes to privately, and by the looks of it, this just only gets me more exhausted and just make things even worse while understanding the feel of the victims who are put into these situations. Because let me tell you, if I'm into Zaid Magenta first rather than the other people, you can't change my perspective of what I feel. And regardless if people may disagree with me on what I feel about my opinions towards cartoons or not, it's always an opinion that I'm always civilized. Like, I made mistakes before, and I tried to improve them when it comes to my videos. Like, believe me, my older videos have aged differently and my perspective has changed over time, but at the same time, back then, I didn't harass or dox people, because as far as I'm concerned, I never had the knowledge, and the only knowledge that I have is making videos. That's literally all I enjoyed. And trust me when I say this, Zaid Magenta, when it comes to his life outside the internet, is probably going to be the only way he's ever going to improve as a person if people ever see him who recognize him from YouTube. Because I can guarantee you that there was a user that came across Zaid Magenta during BoneCon in 2019 or before that, and he was rude to that person. And it's difficult to be nice by showing positivity, especially in the My Little Pony fandom. But at the same time, back then we just didn't know that he was doing a lot of terrible things. Well, he did terrible things, but not the things that he's been doing recently, that his self-control and his choice of decisions is what really causes him to have his downfall happen right now rather than too late. Believe me. I'm just saying this right now, Zaid, if you ever watch this video, which I'm pretty sure you did when it comes to my older Zaid Magenta videos, just go away and just focus on what's really important to you when it comes to your family, because the father thing that you did was really a lot of manipulation. And when I saw your video, and when I saw the end of your father's video, where you completely call out your harassers, which you call me out, then there was a reason onto why I don't watch your videos anymore. You're that difficult to understand. And when it comes to your ex-subscribers, I'm pretty sure that they didn't even bother looking into everything of what you did, which really shows to me that they're too loyal to you and you're using them as your shield for support. but at the same time, that support doesn't work anymore when the people who help you out with your struggles, especially way earlier in your career on YouTube, and when it comes to helping people like MisAnthro, are supposed to mean something when it comes to value. But all you teach me is that you use those values as your own advantage. And to tell you the truth, that is one of the reasons onto why moral values just doesn't really do much for people. And even if I say that multiple times, when it came to showcasing the negative aspects, when it comes to people doing non-threatening things and mainly doing characters of NSF not safe for work stuff, then it just goes to show that they're really not taking the point of view of the other person seriously. Like, I know that those types of people aren't nice, but at the same time, when people don't do those types of things, they still do terrible decisions, and people like Zaid Magenta is one of them. This is why being civilized is literally the only way for me to actually get an understanding of what I see in people. And even though this is personal, keep in mind my first Zaid Magenta video was also personal, all because I used to follow him, but after thinking about it and seeing the bad things that he did, it's really getting way older to see him being as the person getting harassed when he is the harasser. Like, it's really saying something that if what he's told to what he discussed involving his Toon Critic video that is now gone, he said that fame got into his head. And to tell you the truth, when it comes to Zaid Magenta, I don't think fame didn't get into his head, but anger definitely does, and not the good kind. It's the bad kind when it came to him completely using anger, and whenever he tries to cope with it, it just doesn't usually work. I just don't think that using coping when it comes to the type of stuff that you do when it comes to anger doesn't work all the time. Because believe me, I tried to cope with some stuff, but at the same time, it just doesn't work. Because for being 25 years old and still not having a job after 4 years, it's gonna be difficult for me to move forward when it comes to find something to cope. And after learning about these informations, it just becomes a lot more difficult, and not coming out when it comes to trying to show my side of the story just makes the hostile territory on the internet difficult to avoid. Because as far as I'm concerned, Zaid Magenta just causes the hostile environment on the internet a lot more worse. And since that he's gone, the only thing that we can get from the hostile environment is that it's just erasing itself due to the people like Zaid Magenta leaving. Like, the people who still looked up to him this year, which is his subscribers, I'm starting to convince that they really wanted to see the good in him, which they still have even after the Cartooni Incident, and they probably didn't learn about the other bad things that he did. But when it comes to him deleting his channel, I'm pretty sure seeing this video and the Cartooni video will be the only solution to see the person that he really is. Let's be real. With this being the first video being on the top that you type in Zaid Magenta, really shows that you're gonna see everything from him, to the point that he's not the person that you see in him. Let me just say this right now, that even if I said this multiple times and I'm a broken record, obviously, just because you do bad things when it comes to fiction, and I still refer to not safe for work, keep in mind that doesn't compare to what Zaid did when it comes to taking it out on real people when it comes to death threats. And again, I'm not defending what Rosa and Robert did, or any of the child predators. I'm just saying that if you're respectful towards people when it comes to how they behave normally when it comes to a healthy conversation and having self-control, then that's fine. granted, there may be a chance where I could be wrong, but at the same time, by this point, after following MisAnthro since 2016, which he became one of the first bronies that I've seen from the My Little Pony fandom and the brony community, I'm just gonna say it right now. He is the definition on being toxic towards people. And for me personally, toxic towards people is a lot worse than doing not safe for work stuff when it comes to fictional people, because no matter how you put it, at the end of the day, the fictional people, and when it comes to cuties, it's not, I'm not defending that movie whatsoever because it involves real people, and even if it may be in a fictional world, it's still involving real people. And that is something that I actually agree with Zaid Magenta. However, if you're completely going to see the point of view on people doing terrible things when it comes to fictional people, and the stuff that Cartoonshi has made mistakes and humbly apologize that he needs limitations, then look up to these people, because even if they're not fully completed when it comes to improving, it's always a slow progress. And even though the progress that I have isn't the same as Cartoonshi's, keep in mind, it's way more better than Zaid Magenta's. Because as far as I'm concerned, when you have the goodwill that you built, you can instantly destroy that, and thinking about it now, it means nothing at the end. As far as I'm concerned, this is one of the examples onto why that if you think a little bit more on the person, on doing the stuff that isn't harming people in the real world, then then you need to understand the limitations. I'm just saying this right now, that people have a side of the human being, but at the same time, they don't have the side of as Zaid Magenta when it comes to harming people on the internet. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing I would take from all this is mainly just avoiding anything bad happening, because if you see me ignoring anything that happens, then it shows that I'm proving my points, and whenever I have to put my foot down, I have to instantly put my foot down in order to prove a point to people who just completely abridge, if that makes sense, or completely just make me worse without any context. Just goes to show that they're not instantly having a new opinion rather than the old opinion that they keep hammering in. With that being said, this has been 40 minutes long, and it's really late, and I'm planning on uploading another Halloween video soon, but with this information with Zaid Magenta officially gone, I need to get this out of the way. As far as I'm concerned, I need to get my point of view out of the way just to prove my points, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the final Zaid Magenta video. I'm no longer going to talk about him. I'm no longer going to get involved with anyone when it comes to his ex-Discord friends, and I'm certainly not going to get involved on anyone who calls me out. Because keep in mind, if you see someone like Fictional Meteor Bully calling me out, then at least go to me and note me, and I would tell you how honest I am, and trying to prove my point of view that what they're doing is far worse of what I'm doing. Because as far as I'm concerned, what Cartoonshi did is literally him having second thoughts, while Zaid Magenta doesn't. It may be confusing at first, but at the same time, I'm not going to get into every detail, because this is mainly centering around YouTube and nothing else. Well, also Twitter, but at the same time, nothing else when it comes to the stuff that I did on other websites, because that just doesn't matter to you when it comes to YouTube, as long as I'm not harming real people, including children. I'm Lonely Fanboy 480, and I'll see you guys more with Halloween Mania.